Welcome back, guys, to another edition of the Go Earn It podcast. And today I have the pleasure to be sitting down with Ali. Now, Ali, what's your last name? Because I'm terrible with last names. Could you pronounce it for me so I don't botch it the first time I say it?
Yeah, I definitely will. You actually botched the first name too.
Oh, okay. So there you go. I made a great first impression right off the bat. So if you could tell me your full name correctly.
Yeah, it's Ali Afshar.
Ali Afshar. I apologize. I'm so sorry for that. Ali. Well, thank you, Ali, for your time. I appreciate it. We are very excited to have you on the podcast today. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Sitting here at our offices at Warner Brothers, enjoying the sunshine in Southern California, making movies, making magic.
That's awesome. I just was in California about 3 weeks ago, and I can't wait to go back. It was great weather and just great people. California is such a fun state and just beautiful state.
Yeah, we were having some harsh winters here. Sometimes it dips into the 70s.
Yeah, harsh winters. We're praising the 40-degree weather we're getting today for 2 or 3 days, and then it'll go back to snowing by next week. So
yeah, we're wimpy over here, buddy. When it turns 75, we get cold.
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't even know what 40 means. I don't think my refrigerator is even 40. Yeah, I think my freezer is 40.
Right.
32. Anyway, so thanks for having us on the show.
No problem. It was our pleasure. So, Ali, let's get right to it. I want to start off by I always like to ask my guests just a little 5-minute background on who you are as a person. Where were you born and where were you raised?
I was born in Tehran, Iran, literally on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
I lived there for a little bit, then moved to London for a minute, and then came to America in Northern California. Grew up primarily in a small town called Petaluma, California, about 45 minutes north of San Francisco, basically in Napa County. Sonoma County and Napa County are next to each other, beautiful wine country. Grew up there, and then for the last, second chapter of my life, I moved to LA for the last 20 years now, and, kind of live in this Hollywood, Southern California area, racing cars, and recently did a lot of acting in racing cars and went through college, and then added producing to the resume about 5 years ago, and doing a bunch of movies now with Forrest Lucas of Lucas Oil. So that's kind of the short of it.
The gist of Ali. Well, for listeners, the reason why I reached out to you guys is because you guys came out with a movie last year called American Wrestler, and so when I came across this movie and watched it, you guys did a great job with the film. And on top of it, it just really speaks closely to the heart with our brand, Go Earn It, because of the way you portrayed your story. It was such a great job. The casting, the acting, it was very, very good. You want to speak a little bit about, before we get into the movie itself, was film always in the back of your mind, or was it something that came along throughout your life? What was the inspiration behind getting into movie making and production and whatnot?
You know what? I always it wasn't meant to do this. It wasn't planned. I wasn't schooled in it or skilled in it. It just kind of happened.
Right.
It was. I liked acting a lot, so it's kind of movie business. So I did a lot of acting and racing cars, and the car thing became professional, and then racing pro. I met a few people that I didn't know were in the movie business, and one of them, his name is Jared Underwood. Jared said, "Hey, if you ever want to make a movie, let me know." And I didn't know he was a movie banker. I just thought he was like a banker. So to find him, he introduced me to another person, and we made a little car racing movie called Born to Race. Did really good, and then we made a sequel, and then I got introduced to Forrest Lucas, and then Forrest has this organization called Protect the Harvest. It's all about promoting, farming and ranching and the American dream and American way of life. And he said, "Can you help me with that?" And I said, "Sure. Why don't we make a movie like a Aaron Brockovich style of, inspirational, feel good, do the right thing movies?" And we did one. It came out called The Dog Lover, and then we're gonna do another one with Sharon Stone called Running Wild, and another one with Jane Seymour called Pray for Rain back in 2015. In the meantime, while we were coming up with those stories, I said, "Hey, I got a story about my life coming to America with my family and all the hardships of the late 70s, early 80s, and among the whole Iran hostage crisis with a lot of your their listeners might remember is the same time frame as the Argo movie that Ben
Yeah.
Affleck. It's kind of that same time frame, and how I use wrestling to kind of put all my energy into it, and so on and so forth. And one movie turned to four, turned to six, turned to a dozen now. So we just kind of kept that train rolling, and over here, working with Warner Brothers and releasing the movies. Our next one, another feel-good, inspirational one called Dirt, comes out in March 6th. Though hopefully, maybe if you want to make a trip out here, it's at the premiere is going to be at the world famous Chinese theater, and it's available nationwide on March 6th digitally everywhere. So it was a feel-good young kid getting a redemption in life and racing in the Lucas Oil Off-Road Racing Truck Series, like a young black kid racing in this kind of
Yeah.
Mighty Whitey series. Another fish out of water story similar to American Wrestler, just a little more action based. So to answer your question, sorry it's taking so long. It's just like wasn't really meant to. Didn't go to school to become. I have a degree in biology. I was going to go become a doctor. Wasn't going to any of the stuff I do, street racing to turn pro or acting to turn into movie making. It's just kind of how my life is. It just kind of happened. No real formula. I blame my parents.
Well, that's great. I mean, it's amazing all the research I've done with all the films you've been in and the TV shows. It's quite impressive to see how many things you've been in, and the list goes on and on. So, the backtrack, when wrestling came into play, where was the inspiration behind joining wrestling? Was it strictly something you wanted to do, or did somebody get you into the sport? How did that come about?
The movie.
No,
Remember the movie?
the movie itself. How did you get into wrestling when you were a teenager?
Well, no, it's like the movie. That is how I did it. That movie, the character Ali, is very much based by my real life.
Yeah.
When I came to America, it wasn't really for wrestling. It was I noticed that all the cool kids and all the kids that were loved and had friends and just fit in, not only did they look different than me, they were all jocks. They all had Letterman jackets. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to fit in. So I wanted a Letterman jacket, which meant you had to be on a varsity team and win X amount, and you would get your letter block, your letter, and then you go buy the jacket and put the letter on it.
Sure.
So I said, okay, I need to, clearly these are the cool kids. So I wanted to be a cool kid too and fit in. And I was too short to play basketball. They made fun of me, just like I was way too small to play football. They laughed at me and told me to play Pop Warner. And I was a bit of a fighter. I'm a bit of a scrapper. So wrestling kind of was the next thing. And my brother and uncle were really good at it anyway. And I was a little guy, but there was a small weight class. So I was able to fight and get on the varsity team. And I won just enough to make my Letterman jacket. And I was actually the first freshman boy, or the first freshman in general, to get his Letterman jacket as a freshman. Nobody usually people get them as juniors or sophomores. I did it as a freshman. So that was really the drive. And then that's how it got into wrestling. And then obviously wrestling itself is so difficult and so disciplined and so hard. And there's no excuses. There's no point guard. There's no quarterback you can blame. It's you against the guy your own size. So if you lost, you fairly lost. And as you know, I still think it's the hardest sport. And I've done track, field, boxing, this, that, swimming. I mean, nothing's harder than wrestling.
Yeah, arguably wrestling's in general one of the hardest sports out there. You can name on maybe one hand what what others consider might be harder than wrestling, but overall wrestling's the toughest sport out there for athletes, and it's a great sport, not only just to learn about yourself, but it translates into life itself, because the work you put into life, what you put in is what you get out of it, and that's how wrestling works.
Absolutely. And the people that think there's something harder or have never wrestled.
Exactly. Yep.
I
Exactly.
tell everybody, look at the sports. Look at the time frame a sport is. That'll determine how hard it is. So when a whole match is only 6 minutes, versus an hour-long football game or
right.
whatever long hockey or this game, it just goes to show if the whole thing only lasts 6 minutes, how physically hard can it be that it's literally only 6 minutes, you know? So even boxing goes, 10 or 15 rounds or 12 rounds or whatever, and that's hard. MMA is a little similar, but MMA, they're strategizing and kind of, holding back a lot. Wrestling, you're going full blast the whole 6 minutes. So anything that's physical activity that only takes 6 minutes, by common sense should show people like, wow, that must be stupidly hard if it's
Yeah.
only 6 minutes long. You
Right.
know,
Yeah, it's crazy. Most, especially like the cliche football player, they think they can come step on a mat and wrestle. Give them even 2 minutes, and I guarantee you, if they've never wrestled in their life, they won't make it those full 2 minutes.
absolutely. We had a lot of kids that do that, because wrestling usually the second season. First, the fall is football, winter is wrestling, and
Yeah.
they come in fully after a season of football. I don't even think they make 2 minutes.
No.
They're resting for 3 minutes and then a 15-second burst, and then resting for 5-7 minutes, and then another 15-20 second burst. But when you get there wrestling, it's tough. But the guys that did both, that were football players and they were good wrestlers, they were good too.
Yeah.
They knew. They would flat out say, "Are you kidding, dude? Wrestling is 10 times harder than football."
Yeah. So as you grew as a teenager and matured, when did you start to feel that you were coming into your own with wrestling, getting better, getting more successful? Did you have motivation after you started realizing like, I'm starting to get good at this sport? Was there a turning point where you took it full gear and took it very serious, or were you always just a hard worker and you just got what you put in?
No, I mean, I think like you said, I mean, I barely won my freshman year. I just
Right.
won to get my Letterman jacket, but I was really small too. I was only 84 pounds wrestling in the wrestling 98, so I was like 15 pounds underweight and got thrown around by all the seniors and juniors that were in the same weight class. But yeah, as it went on, I learned better skills and got a little more confident. And I mean, I almost made it to the state finals my sophomore and junior year. I'd beaten the guy, except in the season I'd beaten him a couple times, but in the section finals I lost to him.
Yeah.
So he went to the same kid twice, but then senior year I wasn't going to let that happen. So luckily I was able to go to state and do pretty good. But I think it builds confidence. It builds I think technique. You realize, hey, I'm not the strongest, but I was quicker than other people, and I was kind of smart than other people. I just leveraged against them. I was very much a defensive wrestler.
Right.
I would never take a shot, or I would wait till they screwed up and then I'd throw them straight to their back.
Yep.
That's the kind of. I wanted to get it over with real quick. That's why the nickname "The Wizard" happened. Is the newspaper editor started writing these articles every week after I won a match or a tournament, saying that Ali can pin an opponent quicker than you can say his full name, which is Ali Dog Hassan Afshar. So because I had like a host of 10-second, 8-second, 12-second pins, and I don't mean like two. I mean like probably 50.
Yeah.
So, yeah, right. I do that all.
So once you finished, you were a California State finalist your senior year, correct? Mm-hmm. And then once you got finished with high school, what was the next step in your life, or what was the direction now?
Well, it's a little weird because I didn't even have a place to live, so it was more like kind of like the movie said. It was tough I was homeless for a minute, and I moved to L.A., moved to Los Angeles, lived with one of my brothers, and then just kind of figured out just the basics of life. I was unable to go to I had a scholarship. I had a partial scholarship to like Oklahoma.
Oh wow!
Didn't end up going
for wrestling.
Yeah, for wrestling.
Wow.
But it wasn't a full ride, and my parents weren't around, and there was really no guidance. So I really didn't. As an 18-year-old, 17-year-old kid, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I just got a job and worked a little bit, and then I started going to school here locally, and it took me forever, but I did get my 4-year degree. And in the middle of that, my whole family in the city of Petaluma is very much into cars. So I always just started racing cars and kind of let out my aggression there. Because wrestling, I did one freestyle tournament after high school, like the year after. Mm-hmm. I didn't even stretch for it. I'd worked out a year, didn't stretch. I did win it, but I literally had to get carried off the mat by my older brother. And I said, that's it. I'm never wrestling again.
That was it. One freestyle tournament, and you called it quits.
Yeah, I won it, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is too much. I was like 8 years older than me, and he was expecting to mop me up, and I ended up beating him in overtime. Right. So I still had it in me, but that was that. So yeah, more cars, and started street racing and doing a bunch of illegal stuff and getting arrested, and that and going to school and restoring old cars, and that was kind of the next chapter.
So if you don't mind me asking, where did the motivation or where did the the interest in car racing come from? Was that ever since you were a little kid? I mean, because it seems that wrestling came second, but it was always racing that was your passion, correct?
Well, no, I mean actually, wrestling came first because I didn't have
Oh,
a
did
drive.
it? Okay.
Yeah, I was wrestling as a freshman and a sophomore. Then I got my license, and I kind of mentioned it earlier. My brothers, my family, my brothers, and the town of Petaluma is very car centric. There used to be big
Mm,
cruises down Petaluma Boulevard. The movie American Graffiti was shot there. It's a very car centric kind of place. Everybody has old hot rods. So
right.
my old brothers had hot rods and big trucks, and they're like 7 and 5 years older than I am. So growing up, everybody around me was into cars and going fast. So that was kind of like just a product of the environment.
Mm,
So I just kind of kept that going when I moved to LA and just kind of always played around with hot rods and bought them from junkyards and fixed them up and went street racing. And that was more of my outlet because I don't drink. I really don't do drugs. I've never done anything. I've never even really been drunk in my life. So I'm kind of a straight laced that way. So I got my adrenaline and my rush from cars and going fast.
go figure.
And I drive.
One of the most dangerous things to do in life, either way.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm kind of a car crazy, so I still have a lot of race cars and exotics and classics and all that.
Right. So let's go straight into the movie. Let's talk first when you brought this movie into play. How did the process come? Did you have a script in mind? Was it just did you have a writer come in and tell, write, get a story about your, firsthand perspective? How did that come about?
Yeah, I had a script written and I shared it with my boss, Boris Lucas, and he loved it because it's such a good American story about somebody coming here and facing adversity and still,
Hmm.
succeeding.
Yeah.
And he said, do it. So yeah, and we had the script written, kind of put some polishes on that, started casting, got real fortunate that we got Oscar winner, 4-time Golden Globe winner, John Voight
Yeah,
involved.
what better actor than that guy? I mean, he's in everything. Such a phenomenal actor too.
Yep. And then we got, William Fichtner to play the coach. And then I played my own uncle. And we did a lot of rounds of casting when he found the awesome George Kosturos, young kid. I think this was his first movie. He did such a good job as the lead character. And then we surrounded it with Leah Marie Johnson, fabulous actress,
Yep.
singer, and social media personality. She's got like millions of followers online.
Yep.
Gabe
Yep.
and Kevin Schmidt. So it's a lot of fun. We got to do a lot of a lot of good casting. Then we went. It was really surreal for me because we were in my hometown in Petaluma, shot in the same house, streets, shops, schools that I really did that stuff in.
Oh,
So
really? Wow, that's interesting.
authentic, and it was a period piece set in '79 and '80, so it's very surreal for me. And a lot of the people that were in the movie were the real people.
Yeah.
So referees was the real Coach Plyler that William Fichtner plays, but the real guy, we made him a referee. The real Jimmy that Gabriel Basso, Ali's best friend in the movie, it was the coach of the bad guy.
Oh,
So
no way.
real people.
That's
in there.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. My brother played my dad at the very beginning in the Iran scenes.
Yeah.
So he played our dad.
So how long did it take the film and the whole process? How long before it was done, shot, and ready to be put out there?
About a year and a half.
About a year and a half.
Yeah.
Wow. So as far as it being your first wrestling movie, what was the feedback from the get go when the movie released? How was the feedback from it?
The feedback was phenomenal. We scored 91% in the top two boxes of our test screening, which is like for people outside the business, it's unbelievably good. It's like Denzel Washington, Tom Hanks movies don't score that high.
Wow.
So the audience loved it. It won 10 awards at the film festival circuit that it did. Like anything it went in, anything that it got accepted to, it would win not just one award, but like
Multiple.
Like 4 at Boston Film Festival, 3 at Napa. It would just win multiple stuff. And then I'm gonna look right now while I'm talking to you, but
Sure.
I think the Rotten Tomatoes score on it is still pretty high. It's got let's see. Right here. So Rotten Tomatoes still has it as a 92%.
That's amazing. Because it's crazy. Even movies today that are just coming out this week or last week, they don't even come near that percentage on Rotten Tomatoes.
Exactly. But here's the thing, and I appreciate your support of it because it is an independent movie. Warner Brothers released it in a very small platform. Not enough people still know about it.
Right, and that's why, and that's what I wanted to tell you first and foremost is the sole reason why I wanted to bring you on is to generate awareness for this movie because not a lot of people from our wrestling community don't know about this movie yet, and what a better opportunity than to get to sit down with the person who actually the film is about. And I think once we get this podcast out there and people listen to this and check out this movie, I mean, it's going to be great for you guys and us as well, just to be able to sit down and talk to you guys. It's such a great opportunity.
Right back at you, buddy. Yeah, I think it's mutually beneficial. And yeah, I mean, other than Vision Quest was fun in the '80s, there really is no good wrestling movie, and this one combines something very relevant right now, depending on which side of the political fence you're. Still very relevant to the times right now with all the immigration and all the hate and all the challenges we have right now. I think it's very timely.
Yeah, big time. I mean, with all the craziness going on in our world, it's funny. There's many things you're watching. The perfect example right now is the Olympics. There's only one thing that brings everybody together, and it seems to be sports. When it comes down to it, everybody competes in sports, and no matter what color, race, whatever you are, everybody that competes in a sport, it's an equal playing field. And if you want to be the best at it, you get an opportunity to do that and show that and showcase that. And a sport like wrestling, it doesn't matter if you're from here, China, Russia, wherever it may be. Wrestling is the truest form of combat mixed with athleticism, mixed in with mental and physical. It's just a whole combination of everything that you can ask for in a sport, and it's universal.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. And just an example is the Iranian team still competes in the Olympics, and they do the work. They come to America. Iran and the U.S. have nothing to do with each other. They hate each other. Just in wrestling, they actually get along. So it definitely does bring, it unites nations that are very, at odds with each other.
Big time. I believe Kyle Snyder, he's a phenom in wrestling, in college wrestling and international, and he brings guys in from overseas all the time to train with because, I mean, no matter where you're from, wrestling's wrestling.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Very, very respected.
So, Ali, my next question, it may seem a little straightforward, but are there going to be more wrestling films in the works? Do you guys have anything as far as this movie? It was a success, and you guys had a lot of great feedback. But I'm sure it'd be quite interesting to see what you guys can do with future feature films with the sport of wrestling.
Well, I will tell you this: I would love to do more.
Yeah.
The movie was critically a success, but like we mentioned earlier, it's really up to your listeners to see if there's going to be more movies. If they go out and they rent it, download it, buy the DVD, then we could make more. Now, we did do a spin-off on it, which is called American Fighter, but it's more about like kind of MMA, not MMA, but like underground street fighting in the 70s, like kind of like a sequel to it.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, because not enough people know about the movie, we're really hoping that like people like yourselves and just word of mouth gets out there, because the movie did come out last summer, so it's been out for 6-8 months now.
Yeah.
But we want people. I mean, so many people haven't seen it, so it is a business, and our financiers have been more than gracious and kind to support this. But for me to keep the ball rolling, which I definitely would love to do more wrestling movies, really can't. I need the brotherhood and the sisterhood of the wrestlers to go support these types of movies, and unfortunately, it hasn't really happened yet.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you. I mean, what it comes down to is, and it's the hard and sad part about this sport. It's dying in popularity, and I'm not afraid to say it. Most people won't, make it a point that wrestling, as far as it being a premier popular sport on TV and whatnot, it's just not happening right now. And there have been so many changes when it comes to this sport, whereas rules and uniforms and everything, they're trying so hard to push this sport in the spotlight, and it's hard to get some feedback on because even like a film like Foxcatcher, if you do you remember the film Foxcatcher, the wrestling film?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, even that in itself, that was a big. I mean, that story in itself is one of the best and crazy stories told about wrestling. And
Yeah.
still, Foxcatcher didn't make it big in the theaters. I think it lasted a couple weeks, but the popularity and the sales and everything, it just didn't translate into audiences across the world. So, as far as helping you guys out, I mean, yeah, of course we want after we get done talking and everything, we are gonna do our best to get people that don't even know about you, ESX, and this film, just people that don't know about you, just to get them to be aware. So that, I mean, we're definitely gonna see some people coming renting your movie, and hopefully we do see you guys make another film about wrestling, because I think you guys did such a great job on this one. And if we can start to bring wrestling in a spotlight that it's never been in, I mean, what better way than that?
Absolutely, buddy. 100%. We would love to do more. I think it's just people need to word of mouth. People just need to take the effort to tell their friends, send the post, tag, social media links.
Yeah.
The good thing that at the AmericanWrestlerMovie.com homepage, it shows you, it says a buy button, and if you press buy, there's probably like a dozen ways to get the movie. So you can watch it on your smartphone, your tablet, your laptop, your desktop, your iTunes, Amazon, Vudu. There's so many ways that Warner Brothers made this movie viewable that I think it just takes that effort for people to be like, yeah, just get that camaraderie, that brotherhood, sisterhood to engage, and then we'll be good.
Yeah, big time. And we'll chit chat after this podcast about maybe doing a possible giveaway co-collab with Go Earn It Apparel with American Wizard DVD or something, hopefully.
Absolutely, love to do that. Sure, we'll give you a signed one, a poster. Yeah, we can do some cool stuff.
Yeah, and on top of that, I will be making my way back to California soon. For listeners out there, Go Earn It is getting bigger and bigger, and we are grateful for the following we have gained. But now it's time to consider, branching out. So the goal for next year is, whether it's myself or the owner, we plan on moving to California and starting another location for Go Earn It, starting in 2019. So we look forward to being out on the West Coast and hopefully building the brand, and hopefully then I get to meet you guys.
Absolutely, we're here every day at we're here every day, and Warner Brothers working away. So we'd love to have you, give you a tour of the place, and we definitely come by the store.
So as we close out this podcast, I just want to finish off talking a little bit about ESX Entertainment. Can you shine light on how the company came about? And it's part racing, part movie production, correct?
Yeah, well, ESX Incorporated is my company. I started about 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
ESX Motorsports is primarily, we race for Subaru of America for over 15 years now. We have the world's fastest Subaru. We're 2-time NHRA world champions, 18-time NHRA winners.
Wow.
It makes a line of Subaru vehicles, ESX, STI, Subarus. You can go buy at Subaru dealer showrooms. So that's the motorsports side. We also do a little bit of work for Aston Martin and Chevrolet and Rolls-Royce and stuff as well.
Wow.
But primarily it's Subaru if you look it up. And then ESX Productions is another branch of ESX Inc., and that's all feature films, a little bit of reality and TV, but primarily feature films. The last dozen or so now have been partnered with Forrest Lucas of Lucas Oil to make films that I want to make, that Forrest wants to make. Inspirational, feel-good, all-American, do the right thing. Think Friday Night Lights, Remember the Titans,
Yep.
Karate Kid, Monster Action, and also our Protect the Harvest side has these message movies about, not all farmers are, poisoning the land. Not all ranchers are mean to their cattle and cows.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a tough pill to swallow for some people because they're detached with how food is made and how, whether it's crops or the drought or cows and chickens and this and that. So we want to kind of bring that back to the surface too with some of our movies. So but they're always inspirational. They're all like PG or PG-13, feel good, family, do the right thing kind of movies. You always want to get a little tear in there, but leave with a smile.
Awesome. Well, my last question for you, Ali, is I always close the podcast with this, and everyone has a different answer or their different spin on it. when somebody asks you what go earn it means to you, you know, Allie, you got to go earn it. What would you say?
Yeah, it's fucking true, man. Oh, oops, I shouldn't say
Oh,
that.
it's okay. I interview MMA fighters, and they always slip with some swear words. We are okay, so you are all good.
It simply said, it's the truth. 3 words. It's the truth. You have to do it. Unless you're some, silver spoon baby with some massive inheritance, you have to go earn it. You have to put the time in. And even Forrest Lucas, self-made billionaire, told me himself, it's all sacrifice. The people that are having fun now are going to suffer later. You
Right.
put your head down and you work and you work and you work and you work, and then you can, you know, I guess it's different strokes for different folks. Not everybody wants the same things in life, but if you need whatever that is, whether it's monetary success or just having enough money to have control over your life and the power, it's never going to be easy. You're
Right.
going to have to go earn it. You're going to have to put in the time, the sweat. It's going to suck, but if you do it strategically, you do it so hard earlier when you're young and you can have the time that you put enough resources, whatever that is, financial or otherwise, into the, hypothetical bank that you can then live off, the rest of your world, whether it's education, experience, finances, family. So go earn it. It's a great, I hadn't heard of it until Caitlin here in our office brought it to my attention, and we checked out the site and goearnit.com and all that stuff. But it's definitely, it's very true. It's simply say it's true.
Well, thank you so much, Allie. Thank you to Caitlin as well. Caitlin was great. She's been such a help with correlating us together and getting this podcast rolling. So thank you, Caitlin, so much. I appreciate it. And last thing.
Caitlin's kind of a fancy artist herself. She was one of the top 8 women in American Idol a few years ago. So
Really?
She's kind of a big deal. Yeah, she does some music for movies and TV shows, and she's here in LA after graduating the Belmont School of Music. And
No way.
so she's very talented herself too.
Oh,
About
what was that?
She's
It's not about me.
Oh no, it's okay. Well, my last bit is where can we find ESX Entertainment online? It's your time to give the plugs. We want to pump this up. We want to pump up the production company. We want to pump up ESX, and we want to pump up this movie. So if you could, please tell our listeners.
Yeah, to all your listeners, thank you guys so much. If you guys want to learn about us or check out our movies, just go to esxproductions.com. That's E like elephant, S like sugar, X like x-ray, then the word productions with an S at the end, plural.com, and you can find out about the motorsports and the movies. But if you want to learn more about American Wrestler, just go to americanwrestler.com.
No, the movie. Right?
I'm sorry, americanwrestlermovie.com, and that'll take you straight to that site. But ESX Productions or American Wrestler Movie, and then you can follow us. Like my personal Instagram is my Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter is at Ali Afshar ESX. That's AliAfsharesx, and the company's is at ESX Entertainment. So you guys can follow us on those for the latest and greatest. And we do contests and cool stuff there all the time too. So between the websites and the social media handles, I think that's it. And fingers crossed that everybody listening, everybody hearing my voice right now can gets interested, goes out there, sees the movie. If you hate it, I'll give you your money back. But I don't think you'll hate it.
Boy, I mean, you said it there. And also, Caitlin, where can we find you? We want to give you a plug as well.
My Instagram is at Epperly Grams, so that's at P as in Paul, P as in Paul, ERLY, and then Grams, GRAMS, Epperly Grams.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate the time. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to be speaking with you guys soon about something in the future.
Thanks, buddy. You're always welcome. We'll always make time for you. Thank you so much, and thanks to all the listeners.